Boys and girls, ladies and gentlemen, children of all ages, boy, we just cannot stop winning. Now, can we? Now, whether or not it has to do with our dear sweet Stuttering Craig deciding to start his own video game awards show out there because of the fact that everybody knows that the main video game awards system out there is a bunch of nonsense, kind of bigoted, kind of interesting insiders, kind of same kind of award stuff you see with every other major Hollywood organization out there. Well, ladies and gentlemen, in a very shocking turn of events, the Game Awards has rejected a bunch of games that involved identity politics and all of that kind of crazy nonsense. In a year where we saw one disastrous dumpster fire after another that concentrated on identity politics over good gameplay and an actual decent story, and watched them flop left and right, and saw a bunch of other great successes while the video game journalism companies out there decided to melt down and try to absolutely destroy these games before they even came out. Well, it looks like the tides are turning because even the Game Awards now sees the writing on the wall and the fact that its relevancy, if it actually has any left at all, is under threat by independent outside studios, and that yes, at the end of the day, gamers do decide what succeeds and what loses, not a bunch of weirdo journalists with an agenda out there, ladies and gentlemen. So we're going to check out this article from thatparkplace.com, getting all of the juicy details of exactly what's going on and what actually made the cut out there for Game of the Year. And it's probably going to surprise you a little bit, boys and girls. But before we do, if you do enjoy our content, hit that like button, share with all your friends, and subscribe or follow if you have not already, boys and girls, because we are grinding, we are growing, and I could not do that without every single one of you. Also, leave us a comment in the section down below. Let us know what you think about this. Who are you going to vote for Game of the Year? Or are you surprised to see that the Game Awards is actually kind of going this direction, actually giving the players what they want and actually putting games up that have made fans happy and that don't just meet all of their checkbox requirements? Or do you think this is just kind of a little astroturf? Do you think this is just marketing because they know that things are going bad for them and that eventually they will end up just dying off and Stuttering Craig will end up taking their place? Let us know what you think about all that in the comment section down below. And if you'd like to support the channel, please check out the links in the description as well. So from thatparkplace.com and our dear sweet Montanero, the Game Awards rejects woke titles with official nominations. Is Geoff Keighley feeling the heat from Stuttering Craig's The Real Game Awards? Well, they did try to file a patent on the Game Awards name itself, which is probably not going to work out very well for them. But yeah, I think he might have, just maybe he might be aware of Stuttering Craig's new little show he's trying to work out on there. So Geoff Keighley's The Game Awards announced nominations today on YouTube yesterday. Live stream, and it wasn't what the public expected. Most assumed that the 10th iteration of Keighley's annual event, which is typically driven by corporate interest and the legacy game journalism elites, would celebrate failed woke titles like Dragon Age: The Veilguard, Concord, Dustborn, and Star Wars Outlaws. However, those games received very little attention, while fan favorites like Black Myth Wukong and Astrobot ruled the day. Yes, Black Myth Wukong, ladies and gentlemen, the game out there that all the game journalists out there tried to bash the company before the game even released. So they were all about the sexist and phones and yada, 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 yada. And yeah, they ended up smashing things. And there's an argument to be made. It's probably one of the #1 selling games of the year, if not the #1. And that's absolutely insane, especially considering the fact that it was only released on one platform, ladies and gentlemen. It is possible that this face could be a response to Stuttering Craig of Side-Scrollers launching his own video game award show dubbed The Real Game Awards. Dun dun dun. The games mentioned above weren't even up for the Games for Impact Award, which celebrates thought-provoking games with a profound pro-social meaning, according to Keighley. Essentially a word for being the wokest game. And they weren't even up for that. No Dragon Age Veilguard, no Star Wars Outlaws, no Dustborn, no Concord. All of the ones that met all the identity politics boxes, all of that kind of stuff that failed miserably and cost these companies hundreds of millions of dollars. Yeah, not a single one of them. They're not even mentioning these games. That is crazy. Could it be a little Sweet Baby Ink effect? Those 4 titles, like their heavy-handed identity politics and social messaging, seemed poised to dominate that category, with many expecting at least one to appear for other big awards like Game of the Year, Best Game Direction, and more. The presentation was, of course, hosted by Keighley, a man who never backs down from an opportunity to be on camera. Despite its listed time of 11:30 a.m. Eastern, the stream began with a 30-minute countdown. 30 minutes? Really? And I feel bad sometimes when my waiting screen stays up for like 5 minutes or longer. Holy cow. Once Keighley actually appeared, the nomination took only 11 minutes to announce. Really? 11 minutes. The big nominees this year were Astrobot and Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, which netted 7 nominations each, including the coveted Game of the Year. Up next was Metaphor Refantazio with 6 nominations, which I know we've got some fans of this game out there in the audience. Black Myth Wukong, a widely popular action game from China, received 4 nominations. This surprised many as the game journalism industry attacked the Chinese game before its release, alleging sexism issues with the developer. Many took this as another sign that things were changing. Yeah, remember all those lovely little articles over there at IGN, them having an absolute meltdown over this game, and the people that were involved in it? Yeah, those people, those articles. Eyebrows collectively raised during the announcement of the Game of the Year nominees. Listed among them was Elden Ring Shadow of the Erd Tree, a DLC expansion of the original title, which won Game of the Year in 2022. Full exploration of the DLC can take in excess of 40 hours, so while it is DLC content, its size does rival that of a standalone game. Still, it's odd to see a DLC expansion listed among so many heavy hitters. I'll tell you exactly why a DLC was added to this. Not only does it have plenty of hours to be considered its own standalone game, it also was hugely popular with all of the fans out there. It made me get Elden Ring on PC with the DLC and go back in and play it. Okay, there was no doubt this DLC's impact essentially of revitalized the entire world of the entire Elden Ring fan base out there and made it a huge success in the gaming sphere out there. You cannot deny its success. And what else are you gonna pick? Concord? Dustborn? Yeah, guess not. The other nominees for Game of the Year included Astrobot, Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, Balatro, Black Myth Wukong, and Metaphor Refantazio. Yes, boys and girls, all games that have outside of Balatro, I don't really know anything about that one. Like literally all of these games have been super very popular with a lot of people out there. I know a lot of people have absolutely enjoyed them. Astrobot was a little absolute phenomenon there for like a month. Everybody was talking about Astrobot. And then of course Final Fantasy, duh. So yeah, Star Wars Outlaws, the much maligned, extremely buggy Ubisoft failure in a galaxy far away, only garnered 2 major award nominations. Humbly Gonzalez, who plays Kay Vess in the game, was nominated for Best Performance. She's also smoking hot. Women made up 4 out of the 5 nominations in this category for 2024. Well, color us shocked there. It's still whamming power all the way when they can get to it at least. The game was also nominated for Best Action Adventure Game. Oh, that's just you being nice to Ubisoft, isn't it? Despite Ubisoft admitting recently that the title underperformed. Well, that's being nice about it now, isn't it? That game flopped and cost Ubisoft hundreds of millions of dollars and put them one step closer to bankruptcy or getting bought out by someone else. Outlaws also got a nod for Best Accessibility Feature. Color us shocked there. Veilguard was also nominated for that same category. That was the only nomination for Veilguard. Yes, boys and girls, Dragon Age Veilguard, the boring and trashy, force you into making sure everybody's nice to each other. You can't have any arguments with your players and everybody gets reaffirmed, especially the trans characters. Yes, got 1 nomination for accessibility, and that's it. A franchise that has been around for decades and beloved by millions upon millions of people around the world turned into a disastrous woke dumpster fire. Congratulations. Concord, a live service game that Sony shuttered after only 2 weeks, and Dustborn, a game that weaponized cancel culture, received no nominations. Yes, boys and girls, all the things that all the game journalists tried touting, telling you it was the best thing since sliced bread, that you just had to play it, you had to enjoy it, you had to buy it, surf, because it met all of the right checkboxes, is now being ignored by the formerly super woke Game Awards as well. Wow, the tides really are turning. When the Lord blesses us, he does simply not stop, boys and girls, and it's such a beautiful thing to see. Keighley ended up the broadcast by urging players to cast their vote for the award winners. However, that's not going to do much in the long term. The Game Awards nominations and winners are decided primarily by a committee made up of legacy access media game journalists from outlets like IGN, Polygon, and Variety. But here's the thing. If this is all they have to vote for, it doesn't matter. Because they can be activists all day and all night. And maybe Black Myth Wukong won't win. Maybe it'll end up being Astrobot because that's the safe bet for a lot of these little weirdos out there. But at the end of the day, they didn't get a choice to make any of their activist propaganda the number one game of the year, according to this awards ceremony. That in and of itself is a major shift in the world. While the public votes on winners, that public score only counts for 10% of the actual results. The jury gets 90% control over who wins and loses. This unbalanced power dynamic is what led Stuttering Craig of Side Scrollers to launch his own award show dubbed the Real Game Awards. And of course, he goes on. You can go watch Craig's video over that and all of that kind of stuff. It's very interesting to see what goes on. But at the exact same time, Stuttering Craig's awards are going to be completely and totally different. The Real Game Awards are only going to be voted on by you, the gamer, the viewer, the person who actually loves games and enjoys them. And that is a beautiful thing to see. That is a proper representation of a good way to actually vote for whether or not it's democracy in action after all. The only difference this year is that there's a new game in town that's getting a lot of traction. It's unlikely that Keighley will succeed in his attempt to trademark his term, as the U.S. Patent Office has laws against trademarking common use terms. So yeah, that obviously just confirms that he is indeed worried, and guess what? That works. Competition breeds excellence. It always has and it always will. The better the games are, the more they go after each other, the better everybody has to one-up each other. And now we've got more competition in the game award sphere. Maybe it was Stuttering Craig starting this and announcing it. Stuttering Craig is a big name among game journalists out there. He is still a legend in a lot of their minds. He was one of the first guys out there to do this. So if he makes an announcement going on, I'm going to challenge the mainstream, I'm going to take on the legacy out there, then it is going to cause ripples. And clearly, not only with the election of Donald J. Trump, but not only with all of the rest of the shift that's going on out there, the fact that the hundreds of billions of dollars the entertainment industry has lost trying to sacrifice everything on an altar to a cult that has given them zero returns in any significant portion and whatsoever. It looks like even over at the extremely woke industry insider, nothing but more than a bunch of corporate BS. The Game Awards itself now has to recognize that if they want any kind of shred at relevancy going forward, they also must shift as well. And at the end of the day, it's probably not going to do them any good, because people would much rather see an actual democratic process for the fans, the gamers, the customers, the people who actually make these games succeed or flop, for them to finally get to make a decision, for them to finally have a chance at really making their voices heard. And that's exactly what Stuttering Craig is going to give you out there. That's what the Game Awards will never give you. But even then, boys and girls, every single one of you out there needs to take a victory lap, because you out there and the decisions you made with your dollars and the decisions you made with your voices and your opinions out there on social media and on these ratings reviews and everything else you've done, you are the real reason the Game Awards has shifted the way it has. They've thrown out the woke, and they're actually putting forth the successful games that fans love. And for that, ladies and gentlemen, you all deserve a round of applause and a victory lap. Go get it! Because at the end of the day, fans, gamers, and customers are who decide whether or not something succeeds or fails, not these pathetic legacy institutions that will continue to burn themselves down to the ground. And guess what? It's exactly what they deserve.